Hopeville burned, lightless in the night, invisible fires of radiation scorching it from within and without. It is said, a man still...
Hello there, Seraphim17 once again, introducing you to the second part of my Fallout New Vegas Lonesome Road video walkthrough. This is the fourth DLC of the New Vegas, and it's a pretty cool one. So this part here, I go on a little tangent, I go off the main strip, away from the waypoint, and I'm looking to see if there's anything down here, because I didn't come this way before, and all I find is a few tunnelers and I think a couple deathclaws. So if you don't want to come down here, the only real motivation to be here is probably a nuclear bomb for the collectibles, or just to say you've, looked at every part of the universe because you're a massive fan. So instead, I'm going to continue to talk about what I was discussing in the last video, and I was discussing people doubting the difficulties on video walkthroughs. And to surmise what I said in the last video, if you didn't watch it, is people who can't do things for themselves doubt other people who can, because that's a coping mechanism, because they suck, and that's pretty much the general thesis of what I think about that. But a lot of people do this, and as I mentioned, I've started to block people that do it, because I was getting sick of replying and explaining myself, because I don't understand the mentality of putting 30 to 60 hours into making a guide, which is longer than some people do in a fucking week at work. This is all off my back in my spare time, for it to be built on the credibility of something that is essentially a lie. And the funniest thing about this is, not one single person who's doubted the difficulty that I've gone back and put down a salient and intelligent explanation as to give me some proof, give me some justification of why a sane human being would put all this time, all this effort into something if it was fraudulent and built on a lie. And nobody can answer it. They've never got an answer. Their answer is always like, oh, fuck you, dickhead, you suck, blah, 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 this is not this, this is not that. There's never an answer. There's never, well, basically, at 2 minutes 26, blah, 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 there's this, there's this. There's never been something that is concrete proof proving why I'm this massive fraud. And what I've basically done, from the very first person that doubted the difficulty on a guide, it was Homefront, the very first person I got who doubted anything, and he doubted the section that everybody hates, which is the one where you have to get to the helicopter from the church tower, and it's a very, very difficult section, and he basically said it wasn't on the hardest difficulty. We had a massive argument over YouTube that lasted for about a full day, and I ended up putting something in my bio that would hopefully, make some of the people that realise what it was laugh, and make some of the arseholes that find themselves doing that very thing seem like they're a dickhead. But this didn't work, you see. This just manifested into something completely different. And what I put on my bio is, I play all the games on the easiest difficulty and say I do it on the hardest difficulty because I think it makes me sound cool. And if you don't realise that that's a joke, you're a fucking moron. You are a giant retard. The only thing you're good at is stopping fire doors from closing with your face. That is your job for life. You will be cleaning windows with your tongue because you are an unevolved piece of shit waste of functioning organs. That is just fact. I'm not trying to insult people or hurt people, but if you didn't get the joke, you're a fucking retard. And a lot of people have even commented on that and used it as a weapon against me to say that it's not on the highest difficulty. And it's just like, are these people fucking crazy? And the most recent video, the Queen video, the other one that's now on YouTube, makes it look even easier than my video does. And it just makes me wonder, do those guys get as much shit as I've got for this one thing just because there's all these people that fucking bitch and whine when they can't do something? And it is such a demoralizing process. It fucking sucks. And I'm not going to be sitting here and crying over it because it doesn't... I say it doesn't bother me, but it does. That's why I'm talking about it. But at the same time, I know it shouldn't. And I think the main reason for this is because this is early on my YouTube channel. I don't have that many subscribers yet. I'm a nobody when it comes to it. I'm just putting a lot of time into it, and I'm passionate about it. And all I get these days, generally, aside from the odd person who's a giant knobhead, is I get positive feedback. I get people saying, dude, that was cool, it helped me out, it went a little bit different for me, for whatever reason, but thanks for the video anyway, thanks for, the motivation to show me that it can be done. And that is awesome, that is what you want to hear, that's the stuff that motivates you to do it. And I think I've been kind of pampered because I've not got, this massive knobheads coming doubting things. And there's an expression on YouTube that haters are going to hate, and it's universal, and it's true, it's set in stone. It's probably the 11th commandment in some, faux religion, but it can be difficult because, At the end of the day, this is a visual and a digital representation of me as a person, as a gamer, and I take gaming extremely seriously. To some people, it probably means nothing, it's just a hobby, and they might, think, dude, what the fuck's wrong with you, it's just a game. Why take it seriously, get a life type of thing, and that's perfectly fine if that's how you feel, because you've got different priorities to me, but I have a lot of pride when it comes to playing games, and when it comes to making these guides, because this is me trying to help people. This is a physical manifestation of my skills conveying how to do something, or one of the ways to do something that they might not be able to do. And for somebody to come along and, start fucking degrading that and taking away what it is the equivalent of, pissing on someone's artwork. It's like going up to a writer and tearing their book up in front of them. It carries a lot of weight, and people seem to fucking lose this perspective because they sit safely behind a computer screen with a keyboard and immunity of anonymity, which is a word I really struggle to say because it's got too many N's and O's and Y's, but it breeds this subculture of people that have got absolutely no respect for things. And don't get me wrong, I'm all for freedom of thought and freedom of speech because I say some of the most outrageous things. That's just how I'm built, that's just how I think, that's my thought process, and I wouldn't want anybody to censor themselves for the case of me, but I suppose the resounding factor is if you're going to shit on my video, at least have a logical explanation behind it. You can't just come along and be like, you didn't do this because it's not been done right, you just some unevolved fucking homunculi retards, and it just, it grates on the skin. But that's all I'm going to say about that, because there's probably other people that don't like, the sound of somebody bitching and whining. I hope I make my complaints a little bit more entertaining, and if I don't, leave a comment, drop me some fucking truth bombs. Tell me how the law of the land, lay down the lines. But this section here, once you hit the button, you're going to fire a nuclear warhead that's going to land somewhere in the Divide. And later on, if you go to a place called the Courier's Mile, it's going to be completely irradiated. And I'd never been there, and I'd played this DLC 3 times. And after I'd finished recording this, I went there, and that place is fucking brutal, man. There's nothing but deathclaws and irradiated thugs, and you're constantly getting radiated while you're in there, so you can't save anywhere in that place because you're being irradiated. And I must have died about 5 or 6 times because that place is just not fucking friendly at all. Shit got serious in there. But there's actually a pretty challenging section coming up now, because you're going to be getting on a lift, and a bunch of those tunnelers are going to be turning up on the lift and attacking you, and because it's such a close environment, it can be difficult to dodge them. So make sure you've got whatever weapon you're comfortable with, that you've got a lot of ammo and you perform well with, and just try and hit them as they climb over the fence, and you shouldn't have too much of an issue with it. If you do, best thing, use some psycho to increase your damage. Make sure you've got your stimpaks buffing you up. I don't know, change your ammunition to something that might be a little bit more effective. Just, mix it up and hopefully you'll kick some ass. But it's going to take place on this little lift over here. There's already one turning up there, there's another one there, so as you can see there's quite a few of the little bastards. But if you shoot them in the head, you can generally get a decent damage on them. I mean, if you look at that, a shot to his right arm apparently is going to kill him instantly, but there's something about this enemy. They seem to not want to die sometimes. Other times they do. Just look at that, the dude's head fell off. I didn't even do anything. I only shot him in the face with a revolver, but there he goes, he gets turned into Swiss cheese. But I'm going to talk about something different, because at the end of the day this is Fallout, and it's all indicative of how you play Fallout. So, do your thing. But I'm in an interesting situation right now, as far as my next guide goes, because I've been looking into a game called Dark Souls. And there's probably a bunch of you that just went and held your breath as if to say, oh yes, this is the moment we've been waiting for, the Messiah has come back to treat us with his, blessings from the heavens. And that's hyperbole if you don't know what it means, and I love it, so if you don't like it, you're probably not going to like my commentaries. But a lot of people ask me if I'd played Demon Souls. One guy in particular I used to talk to quite a lot, but I've not seen him comment on a video in a while. But my reply was always the same. It was always, I'd never played it, and the main reason for this was, it looks like generic medieval fantasy game action number 1. And it's the same problem I had with Oblivion, because as polarizing as an opinion as this is, and as blasphemous as it may seem, I really did not enjoy Oblivion. I did not enjoy the Elder Scroll games before that, yet I loved Fallout. And I think the reason for it is completely the theme. In Oblivion, it was all caves, it was all elves, it was all swords, it was all spells, it was all generic fantasy number 2. It was just, I didn't dig it, because how it looked, how it felt, and everything, it just wasn't for me. And I do realise this is basically just Oblivion with guns in the future, but that totally sells me, and it's totally amazing, because that's my personality. I watched Mad Max 2 when I was about 6 years old and fell in love with the Road Warrior. And, you know, it just sums my personality up, really. And Demon's Souls was always that to me. But at the same time, you always hear about certain games for difficulty, certain games that always pop up when people speak of difficulty. One of them is usually Devil May Cry, even though I personally don't understand Devil May Cry too much because I did it myself, I got into it, I beat it. It's hard, but it's doable and it's fair. Other games that you hear people mention a lot are Ninja Gaidens, and they're completely warranted. Ninja Gaiden, you can play that game for 100 hours and still get your ass handed to you because that game is fucking cruel. They deserve all the reputation they get. Another game that they mention is Demon's Souls, because apparently this is a game that doesn't care if it's gonna, you know, kick your ass. This is a game where you can walk forward right at the start of the game with no tutorial whatsoever, and the first thing can jump out and murder you in one hit, and then it's like, fuck you, start from the beginning. No checkpoint. And then there's all sorts of madness down the line where you lose your equipment, and if you don't get back to where you died and pick it all up, you lose it for good, and all sorts of just really crazy stuff. But at the same time, if you can get into it, a really rewarding combat system and just really Japanese and difficult game. So the part of this that appeals to me is the difficulty, because I love me some balls deep, dirty, you know, cruel, sadomasochistic difficulties. The stuff that doesn't appeal to me is the aforementioned random generic looking fantasy game Medieval Knight #1 part. So I've been looking at some videos for Dark Souls, and I'm still not sold at all on it, because I've watched the Giant Bomb Quick Look, which was an hour and 20 minutes of playing through the game, and there was dragons and stuff, and the combat, there was a block and there was an evade, and it takes away from your stamina and stuff, and it all looks very sequenced, and they died a lot, and stuff did a lot of damage, and apparently there's no difficulty to it. There's no, you know, hard, normal and medium. Normal and easy, sorry. It's just a progressive difficulty. And I don't know, man, it just looks so fucking dull. It really does. It looks like Baldur's Gate zoomed in. And if nobody played that, you practically clicked on a dude and your guy stood there for 20 minutes waving his sword, just praying for damage. It was like, you know, watching two fucking dumb kids talk to each other with sign language with swords, because there never seemed to be any impact. There never seemed to be anything interesting happening except for your guy giving somebody a massive telling off waving a sword. Just, I don't know, just not my kind of thing. And Dark Souls kind of seemed the same. It was, you know, moving away from the guy while he did his attack, moving back in, stabbing with a lance, and I don't know, it looked dull. But at the same time, I know for a certainty that people are going to struggle with that game because it looks hard as balls, it looks cruel as hell. So, from a business perspective of building my channel, it could be fantastic for numbers and things, but I find it really difficult to play something I have absolutely no interest in. And this is coming from an achievement whore that's played fucking Barbie games, so as you can tell, I don't have the biggest interest in, you know, show jumping or Barbie, but I played that bullshit. And it's just an interesting perspective to be in, because right now my rental service has sent me a game called Call of Juarez: The Cartel. And a lot of people may remember, you know, Bound in Blood, the second Call of Juarez, which is one of the best Western first-person shooters I've ever played. And I know there's not that many out there on the market, but for what it is, that game is fantastic. It looks great, it plays great, it's got superb weapons, superb shooting mechanics, and it's got an enjoyable campaign that on its hardest difficulty was pretty challenging at parts. I really enjoyed it. And obviously this is before I started making guides, so I don't have a guide for it, which is a shame, because it would have been a fun one to make. But there was a part of me that was really looking forward to the Cartel, aside from the fact they've made it modern, because I had faith in the developers. I think it's Techland or something. They use the Chrome engine, which is their unique engine, which looks really good. You'll recognise it from Dead Island. And if anybody has played Dead Island, this is a fantastic segue, because the shooting mechanics in Dead Island are fucking awful. They're absolutely atrocious. They are the equivalent of death in that game, because as soon as you put a gun on, not only do you not do any damage with it, and is it a complete and utter waste of time, but it's like trying to shift a wardrobe using oven mitts. It's fucking ridiculously poor. It is just garbage mechanics. It's how do you make something feel this broken and still get paid? I don't understand. And the gun mechanics in Call of Juarez the Cartel are exactly the same. And the thing that really kills it for me personally is the guns look ridiculously bad. And I know modelling is difficult. I've done it myself. I am doing a 3D model course at my university as part of my degree. And modelling is hard as shit, but at the end of the day, if your guns don't look good when you're playing a game, you've lost your audience. You've lost the appeal, because the main reason everybody plays, Call of Duty, aside from the online, is like digital crack, is because the guns look so nice. They sexualize guns that appeal to men, just like cars appeal to men. And it's the same kind of part of your brain, that psychological aspect of gun pornography, which I nearly pronounced ridiculously bad. Pornography? No, pornography. Oh, I did it again. Why am I stressing the first part of this word? Just say porno, it's easier. So, like gun porn. I think I was trying to say porn, and I was trying to say pornography at the same time, and I was just kind of getting like, pornography, something. But it's because they look so good. And you find yourself playing games like Fallout and thinking, just imagine if the guns on Fallout looked as nice as the stuff from Modern Warfare 2 with the red dots on them and all the rails and shit, and you'd be like, God, that'd be so sexy. And it's because we're conditioned through quality modelling to see these guns as being really, really good and really nice. Even this game's got some fantastic modelling. It's not to the same quality, but the shit looks nice. Call of Juarez, they look like fucking Play-Doh guns. They look like somebody went to a toy store, scanned them in, and just thought, yeah, we'll use that, that looks fine. Some of the iron sights, they look like Lego. It's horrible, really bad. And the shooting mechanics feel garbage and atrocious, and I'm playing it on its hardest difficulty, and I'm running around shooting people from 5 yards and not dying, and it's about as challenging as, taking a piss with standing on one leg. There's just no difficulty there. It's unbelievable. And I was going to do a guide for it, and I'm not even going to touch it now because it's just so damn poor. And it's tragic that such a good developer with such a potentially good IP have released this abomination of a game. It's just pure abortion. It's awful. And I would warn anybody away from it because it is anything but good. It's that bad. Truly horrific. Real bad. But it's just such a shame because these games are just so interesting and so unique, and there could have been more guides on my channel, because the only official stuff is obviously going to be Rage and Batman Arkham City, because they're the next ones that come out, and then after that, I believe, is Battlefield. And I'm really looking forward to the Battlefield campaign, even though my experience with the beta so far has been pretty bumpy. But that campaign looks stellar. Everything about it looks, it looks like a better version of like the Operation Flashpoint, because they generally take a more realistic take on the war simulator, the war feel of the campaign, and it's less Michael Bay machismo, gung ho. We gotta get to the chopper as 9 things explode and we somehow don't get burnt by the fire. It's that toned down to there's one dude with a rifle off in the distance and we're pinned down behind the rocks. It's kind of like it's Hurt Locker in a game form. It's more realistic, it's more tense, and it's a completely different feel to a campaign, and that's what I'm looking forward to. And hopefully when I put it on, whatever hard difficulty is called in that game, it'll be pretty good. And the difficulty in that should be like tampon in a wound or something, because you could do so much military speak. Like Oscar fucking Mike difficulty. Get your ass moving difficulty. Vin Diesel's chin difficulty. Just something different. Just to keep it interesting and keep it fun. And I've just paused the game for some reason. Probably should have edited this out. If it's any longer, then I will. Goodness me, dude. What are you doing? Get yourself back in the game. No idea what was happening. Could have got a text. Could have been many things. Could have been abducted by aliens and put back. Could have spent 10 years in a dream, Inception style, and come back and only seconds had passed. No idea. But this area is kind of tough because there's a lot of marksmen. They've all got generally high advantages on you, and as anybody knows, the guns at a distance on this game can be a little bit frustrating at times because, as I mentioned, it's like flipping a coin sometimes. Kind of sucks. But just keep making your way through, blasting people, taking dudes down, doing what you can. I'm also thinking about doing a live commentary for Beast Mode in Gears of War 3. And I've been meaning to do some for like Call of Duty and for Resistance, but at this moment in time, my internet's been real bad. Real bad. So I didn't really want to risk it. But what I think I'm going to do is, it's probably only going to be on casual, but it's going to be solo. And if anybody's played Beast Mode solo, you'll know that that shit is hard. It's almost as if the game was scaled for 5 people, because it pulls no punches with you and you will die super quick. And right now, this just goes to show how confident I am in the ability of my character to take damage. If you're playing on, you know, the harder difficulty with the thing knocked up, or on hardcore, or even with a character that's not as high level as mine, this is going to get you killed. So like I say, this is more of a playthrough guide on how to get through it than it is to, you know, take on every situation intelligently, because I play like a maniac when I play this game, so apologies up front for that. But if you've never played Beast Mode on your own, and you've no idea what it is from Gears, it's basically you get to play as the Locust, and you have to destroy a set amount of gears, a set amount of characters and support troops. And you've got about a minute or 2 minutes to do this, and every single second ticks down, you're closer to failing it. But every time you do damage to fortifications, kill a person, or kill a cog, it gives you more time. And it's kind of this time trial-y, how do I kill the most dudes in the quickest way type of thing. And it's super fun. The only problem with it is it gets hard really fast, and the way that they balance this out is the more waves you pass, the more money you get, and every time you kill somebody you get more currency. And there are milestones that you hit with this currency where you unlock higher tiers of Locust to use. So you go from being tickers, wretches, and just a standard grub, all the way up to being a berserker, being, you know, corpses, being all sorts of stuff. The kicker is, by wave 10 you're taking on like all 8 of the unique characters that are backed up with about 5 standard just general cog dudes. They've all got silverbacks, they've all got troikas, there's laser fences everywhere, and that shit gets pretty tough. So I think it'd be kind of funny watching me try and attempt it live on my own, see how far I can get, because it ain't easy, and it's fun to watch, it's fun to play, and hopefully it'll go down pretty well. And if it doesn't get, you know, a good response, I'll not do anymore. I'll just move on to something different. But I kind of build myself on the whole fact that my channel is probably one of the more diverse ones on YouTube. I know I don't do any live action stuff, but believe it or not, I am taking a film course, so that could be something that we will work into it in the future. I am trying to set up a podcast. I've mentioned this a hell of a lot. The only problem is my friends all have different schedules of the people that we'd be getting on. Getting us all in the same room to play games over Xbox Live is proving difficult in these last few weeks, what with university and jobs and things. So let alone getting us all in the same room. Because what we've envisioned is basically being in somebody's room, front room, bedroom, some scenario like that, filming it, so that you get video and audio. So you're basically going to have a camera looking at me and like 3 of my buddies. We're going to be sat there with a couple of beers, and we're just going to shoot the shit for like 2 hours or something, an hour and a half. It's going to be about games, it's going to be about movies, it's going to be about everything. And we're trying to get this arranged. It could be somewhere in the far future. I keep talking about it, people have asked for it, but I'm doing it as quickly as I can, guys. We're all busy people, but hopefully I'll be able to bring that to you. People will enjoy it, and we'll continue to do it, because, as you know, I can talk shit, and so can my friends. So I will see you in the final part of the Lonesome Road. I hope the videos are helping. If not, I hope they're entertaining, and if they're not, you know, drop some hate. Everybody else fucking does. But thanks for watching, and you take care now.